Hello everybody and welcome to the ultimate guide to command blocks. Today we're going to be having a look at the guide to general commands, and basically this series is to teach you how to use command blocks in all ways and fashions. So we're basically going to be going through a couple episodes here. As you can see, I've laid out the plan. Today we're only going to be looking at the red section and this small bit here. So let's jump right in and have a look at these first. So these are player specifiers, or at least that's what I like to call them. Now we have three different player specifiers. We have the @P player specifier, the @A and the @R. Now what these all means is they're a way of command blocks identifying different players in the region or in the world and basically executing commands upon them. So @P, that executes a command on the nearest player. @A executes a command on all the players, and @R chooses a random player. Fairly straightforward. I just thought I'd go over that because we're going to be seeing a lot of it. Alright, so let's start off easy. This is the give command. Now, give is the actual command. Here we have our player specifier, and this is an item ID. Now, if you don't know what that means, basically every item in the game has an ID. And these can be found either through the game or on a website or such. Now I'll be linking a website in the description to find out all the IDs to every item in the game, so if you're interested in that, go and check out the description. Anyway, the second number after 10 is 64. Now that's the amount of the item that we're going to give. So basically we're going to give 64 lots of item 10. So let's go ahead and see what happens. As you can see, item 10 turns out to be lava, and we get 64 lots of it. Fairly straightforward and easy to understand. Now, this is the clear command, which, as you may have guessed, does exactly the opposite. So, what we've done here is we're going to clear the nearest player of all of their 10. All of their 10, basically. So, what that's going to do is going to take all the lava away from me. Now you don't have to have that, it's optional, the last part of the item ID. If you just want to clear the entire inventory, you can just do clear @P. So that's fairly straightforward. Let's move on to the say command. Now this again, very straightforward. All you do is when a redstone signal is applied, it will basically say the string of text which you give it. So that's pretty straightforward, but there's some interesting things that you can do with this. For example, if you take a command block and you rename it, for example, I could call it Dave, and basically this command block would now be called Dave. So what that means is, if it executes a say command or anything of that sort, it will actually be that name. For example, I've renamed this Announcer. Now, Announcer is just a general sort of name I chose, but as you can see, it's appeared down there in the chat box, whereas with this one, it's just still an @ symbol appeared. A nice little touch, and I thought I'd introduce you to it. Now the second cool thing that you can do is you can get say commands to target specific players and output their names in the chat. For example, I'm not using any internet, so my name has been sort of default set to player, and when I click the command block, it targets the nearest player, which is me, and it says hello player. So that's pretty neat. Now I'm also going to introduce you to this tell command, which is very similar to the say command, but it specifies only a single player, whereas the say command broadcasts it to the entire server. So for example, let's have a look at this. It says tell @P hello. Now what this is going to do is it's going to tell the nearest player hello, and of course I'm the nearest player. So it's going to say @whispers to you hello, because this command block has not been renamed. So that's fairly straightforward. But there's something else which you can do with this. If we come ahead and look at this command block, which I actually have renamed, and we click it, it says Announcer whispers to you hello player. So let's have a look at that. It says tell @P hello @P. Now that might look a little strange at first, but basically how the command block works is it uses the first @P after the tell statement to direct the command to the certain player, and then it uses the @Ps after that to basically output the player's name. Now, another thing I want to note is the @P statement has to be surrounded by spaces. If there's, say, a comma, you want to say hello comma at p or hello at p comma, it won't work. As you can see, it just says at p comma instead of your name. So that's something to take into consideration. Moving on, here we have the difficulty command. Now the difficulty command, like the game mode command, which we'll cover in a second, has a couple ways of being displayed. So you can display it as difficulty 1, which will set the difficulty to easy. As you can see, that instantly starts spawning mobs. Or we can use the actual word peaceful, easy, hard, normal, and that will work as well. As you can see, the game difficulty has now been set to peaceful and there are no mobs. Anyway, seeing as it is sort of similar, we have the game mode command. Now the game mode command can be actually sort of accessed in 3 different ways. We have the numbered way, so survival is 0, creative is 1, and adventure mode is 2. So this will set our game mode to adventure mode. And if we come over here, we can set it back to creative by using the actual word, so that sets us to creative. Or we can use the first letter of the word, and that will set us to that mode. For example, S will put us in survival. Anyway, back to creative. So, if we come over here, we can look at the me command. Now this one's a little weird. The me command is generally used more in actual chat of the player. It basically signifies an action that the player is doing. For example, if I do /me is happy. Now is happy is what I am. It doesn't mean anything, it's just a statement. But at me or /me is the command. So what it says is *player is happy. Now player is who I am, that's my name according to Minecraft, and star is basically an action. However, if you have it in a command block, what it will do is it will do it for the actual command block. So I've got it set to me is awesome, and it will say announcer is awesome. Now I put this here to demonstrate the idea that a command block, basically whenever it tries to do a command which would usually act upon the player who's doing the command, it will try and do it on the command block, if that makes any sense. For example, if I wanted to use the command /kill, which would kill me, it would not do anything in the command block because that command can't be targeted at players. It tries to act the command on the command block. However, the command block is a block, it can't die, so it's not going to do anything. So that hopefully made a bit of sense to you, and it's just a sort of an example to demonstrate the way that some commands are executed. Anyway, let's move on. Here we have the spawn point command. This is very useful, and what we've got it set to here is it will set the spawn point of the nearest player to the nearest player. Now the reason it will do this is because we haven't added any extra parameters. Now extra parameters can actually be used to specify the location of the spawn point, and we'll look at that in a second. However, let's just demonstrate this first. As you can see, it sets the player's spawn point to their current location. Now if you want it to be a given location by the command block, you simply enter the coordinates of the location you want to use after the @p statement. Now in order to find out the coordinates, you press F3, or if you're on a Mac, I believe it's FNF3, and you can see the X, Y, Z coordinates, and they are displayed as such in the command block. X, then Y, then Z. Simple. Anyway, moving on. This is the toggle downfall command. Now what that does is it changes it between raining or not raining depending on whether it is currently raining. So it will change the state of rain or not rain. However, if you don't want to do it that way, you can actually force it into a single state. For example, you could force it into being clear weather, or you could force it into being thundery weather. Fairly straightforward, not too much to see there. Alright, so now we're going to look at the teleport command very briefly. Now I've set up this little fairly pointless demonstration just to sort of explain to you how this works. So the teleport command, it uses 2 locations. The first location that you give it is the location it will teleport you to, or yeah, is the location that it will teleport from, and this is the location it will teleport to. So if you have 2 player names in here, it will teleport from one player to another player. Hopefully that made a bit of sense, but if it didn't, don't worry, we can have a look at this. Now this is the general teleport command that you're actually going to use. It teleports the nearest player, or whatever player specifier you want to use, to a given coordinate. Very simple, and we've already had a look at how to find your coordinates. So if we jump over here, we can then look at the time set command, or the time command. It's not actually the time set, it's the time command. That's actually quite important. So this is going to automatically set the time today. Very useful. And we can also automatically set the time to night. We can use the actual word night, or we can give a number. Now the number is the amount of ticks in the day. Now a tick is a in-game sort of timing mechanism that the game uses to sort of keep time of things and keep updating things and such like that. I'm not going to go into detail about them. You can wiki it or whatnot. Anyway, we can also use the add statement. Now that's why I say it's not the time set command, it's the time command, because this part can be changed. Now this is fairly straightforward. All it will do is add a certain amount of time to your current time. Fairly easy to understand, I hope. Anyway, finally we're going to have a look at the enchant command. Now, every enchantment has its own ID, and that's what the number there is. So it's fairly straightforward. However, the way it works is it tries to apply an enchantment to the currently equipped item in your inventory. So if I equip oak leaves and hit the command, it will say the selected enchantment can't be added to the targeted item. However, if we go into our inventory, grab an iron sword, and basically try and apply it to this, oh god, I accidentally changed the command, then as you see, the enchantment is applied. Fairly straightforward, a little sort of tricky, you've got to know how it works, you can't really guess it. Anyway, that's all for this episode basically. We are going to, in the next episode, start looking at scoreboards. So if you want to see that, there'll be an annotation at the very end of this video. And if you want to be updated about future command block episodes and such, then feel free to subscribe to my channel. And that's all I have for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.